conversation. But when it came to having real family discussions and conversations about seriousness of what was going on in the family, if need be, our dads used to talk to our mums. Our mums used to talk to their dad. Yes, Cyril, I mean, I forgot to talk to them, I got started all the time. And they reasoned it out amongst them, a decision was made and it was acted on. So our older generation didn't actually have all of this,
inhibition.
Yeah, they literally, the husband spoke to the wife spoke to the husband, they decided how they might resolve the problem, and they resolved the problem. So our fathers and our grandfathers actually already had the tools in place of how family dynamics can actually work by talking to each other as husband and wife. You know, we've all been through that. Some of us are married and some of us are divorced. But if we even think about those of us who had our dads or our mums before the separation, that's generally much culturally the family environment we grew up in. Mum would run her mouth, he'd stop fussing and because they were literally solving problems. That banter, that dynamics was resolving issues and problems or plannings and stuff that they were going to do. Talking together, working together. In my family, my aunties and uncles have been married for 54 years. 64 years. They're still married, you know, until recently. A couple of them may have passed on. But I come from a family of very much, we work it through rather than get divorced. So even the ones then that have been divorced in my family, we're all tight. But we take the mickey, we call her Liz. She's been married 3 times. That's Elizabeth Taylor. Do you know what I mean? Just 3 times, you don't have to get to 8. But that's that old school concept we come from. And I'm old school when it comes to dating. I'm not a modern school. Modern school.
Can we bring it back? Can we bring back old school?
But I think it's the old school philosophy that's missing, isn't it? Because back in the day, in African philosophy, people know that they get together to empower. You take on each other's insecurities and you make yourself. Yeah, because marriage was about bringing out your best attributes. You didn't go into that person, whereas now you kind of go into the relationship and you sort of like, you're looking for someone to understand you without even talking. You're looking, I'm pissed off, you just got to know me. Yeah, exactly. You love me, don't you? You just got to know why I'm pissed off. And it's that kind of attitude where, that's what's missing. It's missing, because we're not trying to build each other.
But that's what it is, I think. Before it was definitely the unity thing of the older generation. Whereas, again, I feel that you guys are speaking from a generational point of view, because for the younger generations, younger than yourselves, it's whereas before it was about making the unit work. You're looking after the kids, you're making sure they're going through the right school, or whatever neighbour's going to come and tell you to deal with it as parents. Whereas now, parents being together is quite rare anyway. That's just a standard thing where parents are not really together. So one parent's dealing with the Monday to Friday, and one parent's dealing with the weekend. So that could be the case on one aspect, and then on another aspect, because you don't have that unity, that's all you can pass down. So you're constantly
replicating.
That's what you're only going off what you know. So
alright, but there are young ladies here. Younger generation. Can I get a witness? Can I get a bit of feedback about what's the word on the wire?
Testimony about relationships and men.
You don't have to disagree. It's not like, oh, you got to reveal your past. But just what's going on then? What's going on?
What is on the young men's mentality? What are the young? You don't have to speak for all women, young women, but it'd be nice to hear.
I think personally, especially the younger generation, I think a lot of value is based on the sexual aspects of the relationship rather than the deeper stuff. It's like what you said earlier, when you're having sex on the first day, what are you then working on? But then that says that there's no point to a relationship other than sex if you're saying that you've got the sex and there's nothing else as well. Does that make sense? So I feel like I don't know what it is that's happened over the years, but it's almost like that. The value of sex is kind of like is degraded, devalued, and then almost at the same time it's kind of like empowered people in a way where they feel like you can have sexual relationships. Some people see it as empowerment because they can have sexual relationships and not have to have those other attachments and really going to be like damaging. So I think the question to all of you, what do you think went wrong? I'm not saying went wrong because maybe it isn't wrong, but what do you think has happened over the years where the value of sex is kind of like just been...
I was going to say, I don't know where it's changed, but I just feel again, it's for the old school way of doing things, or the old school way of I know for doing things. The incentive was the sex at the end of it. At the end, obviously, you're still getting to know the person, but what base did you get to? Was it only first base? Did you get to third base? Do you see what I'm saying? So the woman always had that control, because you ain't getting this until you know me. Until we have worked to certain bases, that's it. But again, if now you're going to tell me it's an interview anyway, what am I pulling out the stop for? It's an interview. So if you're telling me it's an interview and I'm not interested in you like that anyway, I'm not going to work to nothing, because you don't want nothing. I don't want nothing. Whether you tell me it was 10 out of 10 or 1 out of 10, it don't matter, because it was just an interview. It was just a one thing. So that's my opinion of it.
Well, just to add to that, I was gonna say about this value, where does this breakdown come from? I think we've got two dichotomies of this breakdown. I think we've got a cultural breakdown, because as Caribbean African people, we've adapted a westernized cultural pattern of behaviour. And I also think that apart from the cultural breakdown, we are, and I don't blame young people for this at all, because you've got women of my age group, got their little toy boys that are 19-year-old. I think it's literally, trust me, you've got this, it's a sexualized culture here. And I think that is a big thing. When you travel around the world, everybody conducts themselves differently when it comes to sex and love and relationships and that. And I think with England, we are sexually explicit. We're not Amsterdam, where we've got a specific area allocated to that enjoyment or that lifestyle. We are a culture, westernized culture here, that everything is sex, sex, sex. You switch on TV 5 o'clock, young people are kissing, having sex from 5 o'clock, and it's a constant pumping in your head. Constantly on TV, constantly you're having a conversation on radio, magazine, and it is this, I want to be that. I want to look like that. I want to be able for men to call me like that, even though they may have done that anyway without you being sexualized up. So I think it's a cultural sexualization, and I think our biggest thing is that we have shifted into accepting we are Black British. And therefore, because we are Black British, your younger generation, my generation would say that we're from Jamaica, from Barbados, from our motherland, Africa and everything else. This generation are British born. They are the second generation, they're British born. So they very much do see themselves as British and their other cultures as their subculture rather than their main culture. So I think for me, I'm old school. Where my first culture is my culture, it's not England. England's my subculture, despite the fact that I may have been born here in Grownhole. It's my subculture. Problem is that our generation of children have accepted this as the main culture of learning, the main culture of copying and mimicking, and this culture is a sexualized culture. It says it's okay for young people to be sexual. It gives mixed messages by saying we do anti-sexual campaigns, whether it's going to be the pill or condoms, but it's actually practicing something completely different. And our generation of children, it's okay. Even if you're a parent that doesn't agree with your 11-year-old boy kissing an 11-year-old girl. It's a culture that is now outside of parents' control.
We're glad he's just kissing a girl.
And not only that, the youngest teenager in the
Because it's a different day, I'm just saying.
Remember, the youngest teenager in the UK is 11 years old, 12 years old.
Youngest one.
Youngest father.
Youngest dad.
Youngest father in the UK
Is what?
an 11-year-old white boy. So we have the youngest father in the UK is a white boy who's 11 years old. Now, people will think, well, how can he be a father? She's not, 12-year-old girl getting pregnant. Your body changes. Anything can happen. Your biological body is still growing into one stage to another, because your body is always evolving until you at least reach 28, 29. Your body is constantly changing. So it's easy for them to play and fondle and then take it to the next level, because culturally in this culture, no big deal. You're agreeing for gay men to have sex with 16-year-old boys. So it's a culture that is manipulating people's understanding of sex, understanding separately what sex and relationships are. Sex for me is totally different from a relationship. And what we've got in this culture for me is a sexualized culture. It is not teaching young people about healthy relationships, talking about all the points we've all mentioned here this evening about what we would look at, talking, maturity, getting to know people. It's not teaching that in the classrooms. It's teaching you how to look after a baby, have a baby for a week, what is taking responsibility of being a parent, but it's not teaching about the healthy mind of looking at what is a healthy relationship for me as a 13-year-old girl in my level of maturity where I am, in what I like, what I don't like for another boy. So it's not teaching our young people to be friends first and then lovers afterwards. It's literally teaching young people have sex first. If you want to learn something, you learn them afterwards. And I think that is what's literally broken that pattern down to. It's become such a norm. No one's really questioning it until they've got an unhealthy experience of a relationship.
Interesting. Look, the food is warm. We're warm. I want everybody to get a chance to eat in that. So we're going to kind of bring this section slowly to a close. Just before we kind of jump like that, we have to close it out slow. But I'm thinking about how do we revive this kind of emotional intimacy, because it sounds like we've got to the Instagram era of speed. Everything's like hype, even like supermarket, everything's on the shelf and tick, tick, tick on the dating site and just everything's speeding up. Like, how can we kind of reintroduce that? Or no, it's not saying it's gone, but how do we kind of dig it up a bit more, the emotional intimacy, just to encourage people that listen. If you're in for the long haul, this is the best way to go about it. Nothing's foolproof, nothing perfect, but there's certain steps to caught in and getting to know somebody and be emotionally intimate with them before you're physically intimate.
I feel like sometimes for guys, because I've got a lot of guy friends, they can't always get emotional with their, like they can't show their emotion like that because of past traumas that they haven't addressed. And they know they have them, but I mean, I talk to them, so I know, but they wouldn't necessarily go and, so they'll say, yeah, they want to get into a relationship, and then that person might do something and trigger it, but they're not necessarily going to tell her this is what's triggered them, and they just, and they won't do anything else about it. Instead, they'll just keep festering, they'll be like, she's too much hard, but move on to the next, until it happens again.
Be the cycle.
So I don't know how that's ever going to change unless they start addressing some of the issues that they're past issues and they're not, or their past traumas.
I think that is key. I think, like I said in the beginning, I think that is key. We've all got something that we've been through. Young people are, we have traumas. Black people have had traumas from enslavement days and before. We're constantly dealing with traumas.
What about talking and stuff like that? It's very hard for them to talk to some of them. They're very close in individuals' lives. Like, some guys are quite open, and some guys are quite happy to talk about what happened in their past and work through it. But some are just.
And it's funny
I
because
dealt with it.
men who grow with women, men who have grown up around 5 sisters and they're the only men, they're able to talk.
Yeah.
They're able to talk with their brethren and their sisters. And it's funny that men who feel that I've got brothers, they don't really chat to their brothers too tough, on a man talk, but not the deep talk. Yeah. And to me, it's literally about going to therapy. If you can't talk to someone because you're going to be... Of course it is. But that's our job to change. And that's what we need to get to. We need to actually, as black people, be the forefront runners of saying that there's no stigma against that. And the reason why we need to step up with it is because, remember, in the past, having mental health issue was only a black issue. And it was only resolved in the manner of pumping us on medication, putting you in straight jacket, and putting you under the Mental Health Act. Now, because a lot of white people, Europeans and celebrities, film stars,
royal family,
actors have gone off the rail and they've had a little meltdown and everything else. And now we've got mental health awareness. We're not putting those people in institutions. We're not putting them in straitjackets. We're actually saying, well, they're just basically having a little breakdown at the moment. The stress is killing them. It's overloaded. They've crashed, and we're going to help them. And that's what we need to put back in place and say, look, nobody on this planet, this university, has got the tools to survive any of this. We're helping each other, and when our brothers need help, we need to know, say, listen, you don't want to talk to me about it, but here what, I'm walking you to talk to somebody. You're not going to be judged, but you need to offload that because I can't carry it for you.
And I just wrote something in there. You said we need to change the stereotype about counselling and therapy. One thing I do have to say as a therapist, and I work for I work in private practice, I work in my own private practice, and sometimes some of my clients, young black men, for example, you might see the way they dress and whatever, and not think that kind of person might go for therapy.
Exactly.
And I get some brothers come and see me and they go through some deep stuff.
Yeah, because they need to talk
deep
to
personal
someone.
stuff and come out resolved and like,
And that is what we need to encourage. It's okay to do that. It's not just women.
That's what I'm saying. Once it gets addressed, it's so much lighter. You can see they're carrying it, but that's the fact that they just keep going from partner to partner.
It's a bit like going to an event when you're not really in the mood and you're a bit fatigued, but you make the effort to go, and then it turns out to be alright.
Everything's great on the outside. So happy, everything's great, and then back like in their own little private space.
It's
And women will respect.
It's a catch-22 because in one aspect, men don't like to be told, whereas women like to tell. So that's where the clash happens instantly. It will just happen instantly. But women as leaders, you have so much power which is unrealized. Men, unfortunately, we follow where you go. It just happens. Whether you go to bars, it's the philosophy.
Girls free before 12.
Do you see what I'm saying? Free before 12, free drinks, whatever. The girls are going to pack it out. Men are going to walk past you in there straight away. So it's the same thing. Just as you said, the awareness. The women, you guys are more nurturing. You understand it. You can value yourself. You can learn how to critique it. Whereas, unfortunately, not all of us, can't speak for all men, not all of us have those tools. So rather than, as we've all spoken about tonight, there's been trauma through different parts of the life. So for a lot of men where they feel they might get to a comfortable space and they feel like, yeah, we can speak quiet, and for their partner or their woman to be like, what type of man are you? You just chat, or you just break down every minute and straight away. So this ain't forced. Like, these are things that are happening. So for women, again, clear messages, because the messages, as much as women power and empowerment, as we said, most of the stuff, some of the stuff that's coming through are not clear messages. So some of the stuff, as much as people, not just women, are feeling empowered, men and women, it's not the right message that you're using to be empowered. So there's got to A, be a clearer message, and B, for women to start talking a bit more. So I mean, it's not easy, like saying you've been through stuff, I get it, 100. And another part, catch-22 of it will be, we expect you to be strong because you're black women.
I'm gonna address that.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna address that.
That's not always the case. So I'll let you finish.
Let's just sort of touch
I was literally just saying, when you were saying about, mixed messages and stuff, this is the one message that I'm going to say. Black sisters care about our brothers. Give us the help. We're helping you to heal because we've had to heal ourselves. You don't need to say because we're healing ourselves that we haven't got time or love to heal our brothers. Our brothers need to allow us to help heal them. Don't shut the door down because we see.
Well. Yeah, we need you. They need you as much as.
Not all of us are generalising.
Like
Yes.
they need us. Some women will be like,
Definitely cold-hearted.
And those are not the women that are going to be able to help you.
But it's funny because the brothers are attracted to those type of women that don't give them exactly what they're looking for. The brothers then, I think that's again about assessing our own individual self about where we're at, why we attract. Because it's a bit like domestic violence. I used to work in domestic violence lines. And with most people understand domestic violence, that they can't understand is why does a person keep going back to the same person, or they leave that relationship and they meet another guy and it's the same kind of thing, the same kind of
attachment's bad.
That's why people repeat sometimes the that's what you're attracting to you. It's not necessarily that he's found you to beat you up, but sometimes it's about what's going on with your own energy and your own aura, that you unfortunately keep attracting a volatile relationship. So again, like for me, it's about trying to understand yourself. Once you understand yourself and you're constantly evolving and you give your time to understand yourself, because you always got, that's why I said my time is a big thing. So I don't tend to waste it with things that are not, because I have a value aspect for it, more than money. So I'd rather be in my house doing what I want to do rather than being out what I don't want to do. So my time has a value aspect, but we do give our time to those that we can see either as a brethren who needs it, as a friend who needs it, and with strangers. Our brothers just need to not diss those sisters that are trying to give them that doorway, because we need each other. We definitely need each other, and it's either that we don't need independent black women and we don't need our brothers. I'm not rolling on that. I'm not rolling on that, because we need our men, black men in the world and in society, and to be able to be healthy black men, even if they've had their traumas. Not every black woman out here is healthy because we've not had no traumas. Some women are still dealing in relationship and still dealing with their childhood traumas. When I did my talk show on sexual abuse within black families, which never gets touched on because black people don't want to talk about my uncle done this and that, I touch on those subjects, and I can have women in their 50s and 60s saying, Sister A, having to tell my children about what I'm going to share on the airwaves with the world. Because people think they hold their traumas and don't share their traumas until a situation arises where it comes out or they feel they need to share. But my message is to our brothers is that we're not all bad black women, regardless of our age and generation. We're not all dogging our brothers. We are aware that our brothers have gone through trauma because we live in black UK. So we know our brothers then are constantly on this battle of survival for themselves, more or less to find a woman, provide for a woman. But they need to know there are a lot more good women out here, whether they're single or not, that are willing to do the right thing than there are not. That's my kind of message.
Sanya, I need to just give us a final comment before I wrap it up. No pressure. No pressure.
Amazing, I sandwich the two women on the outside.
It doesn't happen this way by nature.
No, I think self-awareness. I know knowing yourself is key, you know, and I think knowing your shit and just being real with yourself is the first step you can take in order to, like, you know, you'll get a few people that run away, but I think it's about having those few people run away and know that actually they don't deserve to be in your life, or that you don't deserve them to, you know what I'm saying? Instead of just forcibly going, realness, honesty is key, I think. Honesty is the best policy, so realness with yourself first off, that would enable people.
Keeping it real. This was a powerful conversation. I could have never anticipated that the energy, the frequency, and the level of conversation would have been like this. And maybe it ended up being like this because this is what was supposed to be shared, and it's more important than just, you understand? So I really appreciate you all for coming and taking the time out. And I definitely want to just leave with my takeaway message for the women, right? And it's just something that's been going over in my head recently, in recent months, that you mentioned the strong black woman and the strong black woman and the strong black woman. And I think black women are strong, but your strength lies in your femininity.
Yes.
Right? Your strength, your power is in your femininity. And that, as both my grandmothers, one was from Guyana, one was from Jamaica. The Jamaican granny would say, 2 bulls can't live in a 1 bed. And my Guyanese granny would say, 2 rats can't live in 1 food. Right? So there must be a yin and a yang. So in your strength and manifesting your strength, don't forget your femininity, because it does something to brothers. When a woman is kind of, that strength comes out kind of masculine, well, it's kind of like, it don't trigger that thing in that's really there to be a protector and a provider. If you're over strong, it kind of mess up the frequency.
And you know what? If you find I was just going to say, what you find in most strong black women